You ever walk into a place so fancy you swear your shoes alone just lower the property value? That's how it starts. The clinking of crystal glasses, the soft buzz of money floating on the night air, the smell of lamb and truffle butter that doesn't just tempt you. It almost mocks you if you haven't eaten in days. That was the scene at El Jardin, city's most exclusive restaurant. The kind of place folks book a table at months ahead just so they can tell their friends about it. But for Thomas Reed, sitting in a corner under the warm glow of gold-trimmed chandeliers, none of that meant a damn thing anymore. There he was, early 30s, every part of him crisp, groomed, expensive, but his eyes were somewhere far away, maybe stuck in a place that smelled nothing like roasted chicken and tasted nothing like Chardonnay. He scrolled through emails that didn't matter, glanced at plates of perfect food that might as well have been plastic, and just kind of drifted, until outside, on the edge of all that luxury, a little girl named Isla was trying to become invisible. Barefoot, skin the color of warm mahogany, a tattered dress so big it looked like she'd borrowed it from a ghost. She'd been watching from the shadows, stomach growling so loud she worried someone might actually hear it, though no one even looked her way. And that, honestly, says it all. The waiter came out, dumped a tray of half-eaten food right into the trash without a second thought. Isla crept close, desperate. "Hey," the waiter barked, scaring her off like some stray dog. "Don't you touch that. Filthy street kids don't belong here." She ducked behind a column, eyes stinging with tears she didn't want anyone to see. But hunger's a cruel thing. It'll make you braver than you ever thought you could be. Isla did the impossible. She walked through the patio doors, bare feet on cold stone, right into the world of people who had everything she didn't. People gasped. Where did she come from? Isn't security watching the gates? The head waiter, shoes shining like mirrors, stormed up. "Little girl, you don't belong here. Leave immediately." But Isla, her voice trembling but determined, looked straight at Thomas, the only person eating alone, with more food in front of him than she'd seen in weeks. "Can I eat with you?" she asked, so soft and honest you could almost hear her heart thumping in her chest. For a second, time stopped. The waiter tried to regain control. "Sir, do you want me to remove her?" But Thomas just stared. He saw her, really saw her, in a way he hadn't looked at anyone in years. Something in him cracked open. He remembered being hungry, being invisible, being a kid that nobody thought twice about. "No," he said finally, voice sharp enough to slice the silence. "Bring another plate. The best you have. And hurry." You should have seen the shock ripple through the room, like he'd just announced he was giving away all his money. Isla, blinking through disbelief, whispered her name. Thomas knelt to her level. "Come on, Isla. Sit with me." Gasps everywhere. Some people scandalized, others just confused. He patted the chair. "Tonight, you're my guest." The waiter hesitated, but when Thomas insisted, he hustled away, red-faced. Thomas glanced around, didn't bother hiding his annoyance. "You're all staring," he said, voice echoing through the patio. "Maybe you should ask yourselves why a little girl has to beg for food in a place like this." For a moment, nobody moved. Isla took the seat, hands shaking, and when the warm bread came, she gripped it so tight you'd think someone might snatch it away. She whispered, "Thank you, sir. I thought no one cared." Thomas swallowed hard. First time in years he'd felt anything but numb. The patio fell dead quiet. No more forks clinking. Isla ate slowly, still not sure it was real. Thomas nudged a glass of water toward her. "There's plenty. No rush." Across the room, people whispered. Some were embarrassed. One old couple looked away, faces red with shame. The waiter brought a plate stacked high with chicken, potatoes, fresh vegetables. Real food, not scraps. "Eat as much as you want," Thomas said. "No one will stop you." Isla hesitated. "But don't you want it?" Thomas smiled. "I've had more than my share. It's your turn." He watched her eat, and, suddenly, he was back in his own memories, sleeping in subway tunnels, praying for leftover pizza crusts, vowing never to look back. But seeing Isla, he realized you can't outrun your past. Not really. All you can do is decide what you're going to do with it. "My mama used to make bread like this," Isla said quietly, tears starting fresh. "Before she went to heaven." Thomas's heart ached. What about your dad? Isla shook her head. He left after Mama died. Said I was too much trouble. Thomas squeezed her hand. You're not too much trouble, Isla. You're a child. You deserve to be cared for. A waiter paused, watching. Even the restaurant manager, who came out ready to cause a scene, just stopped. Thomas stood up, not just for himself, but for her. She's 7. 7. While we sit here drinking wine and leaving food on our plates, she's out there, alone, just trying to survive. You could see the words hit people. Some looked away, a few wiped their eyes. He leaned in, voice soft. You don't have to beg anymore. Not ever again. I'll take care of you. Isla blinked, barely believing. You mean you're not sending me away? Never, Thomas said. You're coming with me. We'll get you warm clothes, a real bed, and pancakes for breakfast. Isla broke, hugging him so tight he almost lost his balance. I'll be good, I promise. Thomas just hugged her back. You're already good. You don't have to prove anything. By then, something had changed in the room. The power wasn't with the rich, the loud, or the angry anymore. It was with this one act of kindness. People stood, some quietly, some leaving money on the table for her future, no one sure what to say. Thomas lifted Isla into his arms, her face buried in his jacket. She deserves more than a meal. She deserves a life, he said, half to himself, half to everyone. As he carried her out, others rose, not to stop him, but out of respect. That night, in his car, Isla curled up with a blanket, finally safe. She whispered, Are you rich? Thomas smiled. I thought I was. But tonight, I finally feel like I've got something money can't buy. Isla grinned, sleepily. You're the nicest person I've ever met. Tears filled Thomas's eyes. And you're the bravest little girl I've ever known. So, let me ask you, if you were in that restaurant, would you have done the same? Or would you have looked away like everybody else? Where do you draw the line between what's yours and what you owe the world around you? Drop your thoughts below, because sometimes the smallest act of kindness is what turns a silent room into a story the whole city remembers. If you think the story ended with that car ride home, well, life's got a way of tossing in extra chapters when you least expect it. You know what I mean? The city felt different that night, colder somehow, as Thomas drove through streets that, for the first time in years, didn't feel so empty. Isla fell asleep before they even hit the freeway, head against the window, fingers clutching that restaurant napkin like it was a treasure. Thomas watched her in the rearview every chance he got, part fear he'd mess this up, part awe that this little stranger trusted him at all. The next morning, sunlight crawled into his apartment, waking Isla before Thomas even stirred. She tiptoed through the quiet, all wide-eyed, like she couldn't believe the place was real. Thomas found her in the kitchen, standing on her toes, staring at the fridge packed with more food than she'd seen in a year. You hungry? He asked, voice still rough from sleep. She grinned, shy but proud. Can I really have pancakes? We're making a stack so big you'll need a ladder, he joked, and for the first time, she laughed out loud, a sound that made the whole place feel warmer. They ate at the counter, syrup everywhere, and Thomas told her stories about when he was a kid. About sleeping on subway benches, about stealing apples just to get by. But you're rich now, Isla said, licking syrup from her fingers. Yeah, but some things don't leave you. Hunger, fear. Sometimes it's not your belly that's empty, you know. Isla nodded like she understood every word. That day, Thomas took Isla shopping for clothes. She picked out a yellow hoodie 3 sizes too big, and when she twirled in front of the mirror, Thomas nearly lost it. She looked so proud, so normal. At the register, the clerk raised an eyebrow at Thomas. Is she yours? She asked, and Thomas hesitated just a second too long. Isla looked up, nervous. She's with me, Thomas answered, his voice firmer than he felt. But the clerk just shrugged, rang up the clothes, and handed Isla a lollipop. Small mercies, right? Back at home, Thomas called a social worker, a woman named Ms. Riley, all business, clipboard in hand, but her eyes softened the minute Isla told her about the bread, about Mama, about the night sleeping outside. She's safe here, Thomas said, maybe a little too quick. Ms. Riley gave him that look people save for dreamers. It's not that easy, sir. There's a process. She's not a case file, Thomas said, heart pounding. She's family now. Ms. Riley took it all down, promising to start the paperwork. But as soon as she left, Isla panicked. She hid behind the couch, knees to her chest. "They're gonna take me," she whispered, eyes wild. Thomas knelt down, put a hand on her shoulder. "No one's taking you anywhere. Not if I have anything to say about it." They sat like that for a while, just listening to the city noise, horns, sirens, life moving on outside while theirs felt like it was stuck on pause. A week passed, school enrollment, doctor's visits, paperwork stacked so high it nearly buried the kitchen table. At school, kids stared at Isla's hand-me-down jeans, her nervous smile. But on the second day, she met Grace, a whirlwind of freckles and messy hair, the kind of girl who decides in 2 seconds flat that you're her best friend. Grace started sitting with Isla at lunch, sharing crackers, asking a million questions. "You ever been to the zoo? You want to come over Friday?" It was like watching someone plant a flag on the moon. First contact, friendship, hope. Twist is, life wasn't done testing them. One afternoon, Thomas came home to find a fancy car parked outside. A tall man in a suit, Leonard, Isla's biological uncle, stood in the doorway holding a faded photo of Isla's mom. "I heard what you did at Jardin," Leonard said. "I want to meet her. Maybe take her home." Thomas felt that old street kid panic rise up. He promised Isla she'd never have to beg again, but now the law was calling his bluff. Inside, Isla listened quietly as Leonard made his case. "I got family in Atlanta. You'd have cousins, a yard, a room all to yourself." Isla looked at Thomas, eyes wide with fear and hope tangled up together. "Do you want to go?" Thomas asked gently, every part of him screaming no. Isla hesitated, then shook her head. "I want to stay here. With you. And Grace. And pancakes." Leonard stared at her, then at Thomas. "You're a good man," he said, "but family's blood." Thomas met his gaze, steady. "Sometimes family is a choice," he replied, voice steady as stone. Ms. Riley came back, this time with a judge's order to sort things out. The hearing was tense, a parade of lawyers, questions about Thomas's past, about money, about whether a single man could raise a child like Isla. But then Isla stood up, tiny, trembling, but fierce as a lion. "He's the only person who ever saw me. Not just the dirt or the dress, but me." Her words hit the room like thunder. In the end, the judge ruled in Thomas's favor, temporary custody, with a plan for adoption. When the news broke, the story of the millionaire and the homeless girl hit social media again. Some folks cheered, some sneered, but everyone had an opinion. Even Leonard, who ended up visiting every Christmas, bringing stories and gifts and new photos of their shared past. That night, Thomas tucked Isla into bed, her yellow hoodie draped across the chair. "Still hungry?" he teased. Isla shook her head. "No, I'm full now. For real." Thomas turned off the light, thinking about second chances, about all the things money couldn't buy, a place at the table, a family, a reason to wake up smiling. So now I gotta ask, where do you draw the line between doing what's legal and doing what's right? Does blood make you family, or is it the people who stay when things get messy? Drop your thoughts below. Let's hear your stories. Because sometimes, the best families are the ones you build from scratch, and the smallest kindnesses change the world, one breakfast at a time.